welcome. Hi, Fabio. Nice to have you.
Good, good.
Natalia.
Hi,
Nice to have
thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. So welcome, everyone, in the middle of the week at Hannover Fair at the Siemens booth. And I'm really proud to be here today. And I'm also, Fabio, very proud to have you today. Why so? Because what you're going to tell us today is really impacting our life. So it's impacting my life, it's impacting your life and everyone's. And we are going to talk today about sustainability,
Correct.
resilience, right? And supply chain. So coming back to myself as a consumer, I would like to be healthy. I don't want my family to eat contaminated food. And I would like to understand the ingredients which are in the food we are consuming, but also, for example, in the plastics which we are using. So those are serious questions which I have to the industry. So now going to the pharma industry, what we see as well is that traceability is really important, right? So why so? It's really helpful to know about fake medicine and even to fight fake medicine. So this is a real challenge. And what we see as well is that governmental institutions and governments are putting regulations out there and new standards where the industry needs to comply to. So now, coming to the industry, we have you here as an expert on stage. What are the challenges you see in the industry? So you're working daily with consumer industries. You're working with the food and beverage industries. So what are the challenges you see now in the market?
Yep. Thanks, Natalia. By the way, good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here, and thanks, Siemens, for the invite. So, since 20 plus years, I'm the CPG industry. So, and it was for us important as a company to support the journey of the CPG industry. And if we look at the industry, we know that there are today. It's even for brand strategy standpoint, it's important to look at the different challenges, because at the end, the brand strategy is not any longer just the commercial part, how you go to the market, but really how you support to protect your brand against challenges. For example, we were talking about the typical supply chain challenges like contamination, counterfeit product. Contamination, I don't know if you heard about it. It was public a month back when Coca-Cola had to recall 10,000 cans because of contamination. Then we talk about counterfeit product. Even outside of the typical standard pharma industry, we have from 25 to 30% of the product in CPG market which are counterfeited. On top of that, there are also the typical production challenges, which are still due to silos information across the different, across the entire supply chain. On the other side, there are also regulation, which appear every day in the CPG market. Historically, from pharma, they are now entering the CPG market since here. You look at the European Union, we talk about DPP, ESPR, we talk about the deforestation regulation. Every company struggle to stay ahead with such a kind of regulation, to get a way to really be proactive, to protect the brand, to really create a strategy which is effective.
So show us more a bit about the brand. So what can we see here? And also, what are the changes you're assuming to do with your customers? So maybe you can go to the next one.
Yeah, I was still in the previous one.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. My idea was really one important point in addition to what I said. Let's talk for a second about sustainability, which is the kind of the baseline. Every consumer packaged good company, they really need to get sustainable practices as a baseline. And if you consider regulation, challenges, and sustainability as a baseline, what we realize that there is a need to get really end-to-end traceability, information flow from sourcing material down to the consumer, but also vertical, from R&D down to manufacturing and down to supply chain. This kind of chain should be really effective end-to-end. And there should be a way to link all the information together. This is where we come in as a company, because we build a framework to really support such a kind of story. The framework was really an end-to-end traceability framework, which is meant to create a baseline to connect supplier, manufacturer, distributor, consumer, but also authorities, because it's important, as I said before, there will be always in a country a new regulation. The important is to be resilient. Every company, they need to get an end-to-end traceability framework to proactively support resiliency. And if you look at the way we envision the infrastructure is really, you need to start from which are the base processes. And what we do is really, we create a convergence framework between OT technologies, the typical operational technology, and I would say, a convergence with IT technology and ET technology, engineering technology. This is key to get all the foundational information, which are then orchestrated by a corporate traceability management platform, which is on top of it, is going to maintain the link across the different element of the supply chain.
Thanks, Fabio. And one question, I mean, we have seen Siemens Accelerator and a lot of technology here on stage and around us. So if there is any connection to Siemens Accelerator, what is the portfolio which is maybe used here in such a scenario?
Yeah, that's a good question, because why for us the accelerator portfolio is critical? Because when we do such a kind of analysis, every customer got an heterogeneous ecosystem. For us, the accelerator portfolio is a way really to pick the right piece of the element that can be used to connect all the dots across the supply chain. And the Siemens portfolio it's really breadth. You can really connect all the different pieces, but you always find an area where maybe the Siemens portfolio is not enough. And the accelerator portfolio is really the way to overcome such challenges and pick from the accelerator portfolio additional product, including the one that we will talk about later on today about traceability.
Absolutely,
Thanks.
and this is very realistic because we see different situations actually at the customers and different legacy systems. So we need to be able to adapt to what is also existing at the customer's landscape. So, however, if you anticipate, how to do it, what are the 3 steps? I heard about 3 steps from you, which you recommend the customers to go on a journey working with you. Correct.
Considering the previous baseline that I was sharing, what we see as a way to approach such a kind of project is really to go through kind of quick wins approach, is to go 3 steps. First step is a typical kind of baselining what you have. So basically, together with the target customer, we end up to assessing the as-is. We create a reference architecture to make sure that future-proof. So it's really, according to the best practices, we create a reference architecture, and we start to build an end-to-end roadmap. Because the other point is a journey. It's not just one day to the other, you got a platform. You really need to build up according to the maturity of the organization, and you have the possibility to create such a kind of roadmap. This is a step 1. Then, of course, what has been strategized must be put in execution. So the second step is to work through a pilot. So execute a pilot, get feedback from the pilot, review do lesson learn analysis of what the pilot get it in order to, I would say, fine-tune which was the framework. And finally, you move, as soon as you get approved implementation pilot, you go to the rollout phase. So you start to plan how to scale up your pilot to all the different areas, but also across the enterprise, because we are talking about end-to-end processes where the best is really to include your supplier, include your distributor as part of this enterprise solution.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see feedback loops and agile improvement is also needed. But if I would be a customer now, if I would be now, I don't know, CPG company, food and beverage company, I would actually ask 2 questions. And how can I anticipate the challenges coming on my way, right? Because there will be some. And also the second one, what you just said, going from the second step to the third one, this is many times a challenge. So we ask ourselves how to get from this pilot to the scale implementation. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. Let's say, so to anticipate the challenges, the best way is really to rely on the best practices that we can share. So we already have experience in all the market to try to drive, to exploit all the challenges and to already start to set up the entire adoption of the framework in a way that we can drive you the right people and the right stakeholder to start building together the journey. Second question were related to the critical part, so moving from a pilot to the really rollout to the entire organization and even beyond the organization. That's obviously the challenging part because you need to focus on governance. You need to get really be able to really scale the organization to get the buy-in from the key stakeholder, because otherwise you end up in a trap and the adoption. What we really focus is make sure that we are able to support the adoption across the organization.
Thank you. And how do you do this?
Then, just to give you an example of the typical action levers that are behind the execution of the framework. So, an example in a CPG market, it's important really there are typically 3 clusters. You start from process improvement. So after the analysis of the different processes that are the end-to-end processes of your supply chain, you need really to define, for example, a strategy for the recipe management, from formulation down to the different shop floor, because this is a typical situation where you got silos. You really need to break the silos across R&D and industrialization, plus management of buffer, across the buffer and the strategy about the different site. Make sure that you get really end-to-end continuity of information across the chain. Make sure that you get the rework strategy in place, which is most of the time is one of the critical part, to make sure that you get genealogy, across backward, forward genealogy enabled through best management of the rework processes. And then more technical, then you typically need to review the industrial automation. Because to support the new processes, to support the new operating model, most of the time you need to get through review in the OT space. You need to get additional way to retrofit you in automation. And from IT standpoint, you really need to get more convergence with the IT and engineering technology system. You really need to get what if capabilities across the supply chain to support decision making, because then what is important is going to be really a live solution that help you really to tune the way you hacked your supply chain, the way you change your supply chain to support really new business model. And finally, it's really resiliency, increase resiliency, leveraging really traceability framework to make sure that whatever you get from source to consumer is fully tracked.
Thanks, Fabio. So we learned it's possible, right, to do this and to embark this journey together with you. But what are the concrete outcomes we can expect?
Yeah, concrete outcomes are really, just to simplify, it's really step 1, reduce time. Whenever you have situation like contamination, product recall, new regulation, make sure that the way you approach how you address the challenge is really in a short time. Because if you shorten the time, you get a competitive advantage to the competition. Everyone got crazy because they don't know how to address the regulation. If you get such a kind of framework, you easily speed up the way you can address any challenge. Then, second benefit that we have seen from the market is the reduction of batches at risk. Back to the Coca-Cola example. If you have really an end-to-end traceability framework, you can really laser focus and limit the impact of a contamination and try to avoid to make it to become a really big challenge that impact your brand. In general, also reducing error, because if you break the silos, you also limit the error that are today across the different element of the supply chain. And finally, again, make sure that you really get a serialized, flexible way to keep maintaining the history of the different product across supply chain.
Yeah, thanks, Fabio. And also, you talked about serialization. Yeah, so let's be honest. I mean, from my experience with customers, serialization is really expensive. So it's really tough to get, you know, the KPI, understanding this, the risk and value portion, and also to make it efficient, because serialization is normally very expensive. So do you have a solution in mind for this? I assume so.
Historically, we're pretty strong in serialization in the pharma industry, but we also know that you cannot get such a kind of solution in the CPG market. Our strategy is to get a more flexible way to get a solution in serialization space, which is our Movilitas Cloud solution. It's really a robust corporate serialization solution, which is going to complement the Siemens portfolio, and we are really proud of it, because it's not just a corporate serialization solution. It's just a way to gain trust, to get a proof of sustainability. It's really a framework that can help you to build all the complex use case that consumers are expecting to really protect your brand. And we align to the ESG goals, how to support it.
Sure. Thank you. And this is really true. I mean, I have seen this solution in action, so I know how it works, and it's really scalable, and you can really start small and scale up fast. Okay, and now let's have some exciting news. Where to find Movilitas Cloud, the best scalable solution for serialization, and where to find Fabio and engineering group. So on here, we can invite you to join the Siemens Accelerator Marketplace. So you will be able to find Movilitas Cloud on the Siemens Accelerator Marketplace. So please scan your QR code. And we have some good news. It's actually available today. It was released today. And this is what you can do. So please do so. I think this is a great opportunity to get in touch with you. But there is even more. It's not only about the marketplace. It's also you're here at the booth, right?
Correct. We are here at the booth. We're happy to support any kind of discussion, because for us, you know, it's a really a relevant topic, and we're willing to support and help you in any sort of discussion.
This is fantastic. And also, I would like to say, finishing this, so you're over there, like with the engineering group.
Correct.
Booth. So go over there and visit Fabio. And I promise you, if you go there, you will get a little present from me. Okay? Please do so. Thank you. Thanks, Fabio.
Thank you.